Narcissistic abuse has a way of confusing and distorting your sexuality, leaving you feeling guilty, ashamed, and worse than that, it robs it away from you, making you feel like you don't even want sex anymore. You don't want love. You don't want connection, especially coming out of a toxic relationship. But what if I told you that that's not true? Deep down, you do desire connection. You do desire touch. You do desire sex. You do desire an intimate relationship. After all, we're humans. And in these bodies, we do desire affection. We desire connection. That's part of the way in which God designed this being and this life. And in this message, we're going to unlearn the things that you have been through and how to gain your confidence back and how to gain your desirability back and how to gain back your desire for true connection, true love, true affection, and of course, sex. Let's get into it. My name is Kevin, and this is Now, before I get into this risky message, let me remind you that I'm here to support you. Down in the description box right below this video, you'll find access for one-on-one appointments with me. I do take telephone calls and video calls through Zoom, FaceTime, and WhatsApp, so you do not have to heal from narcissistic abuse alone, nor do you have to regain your confidence and your passion for connection and touch and even sexuality alone. Head on down to the description box, schedule some time with me. Let's talk about where you're at and the steps you need to take to regain your confidence once again, to take back control of your passion for life, your passion for connection, your passion for love, and especially your passion for sexuality. Because I'm here to tell you that it hasn't gone anywhere. It's still within you, buried deep down underneath the shame and the confusion and the distortion and the hurt. It's there. The crazy irony of dealing with narcissistic people is that they approach you in a relationship like guns blazing. Do they not? They're all excited about trying to get up your shirt, down your pants, whatever the case may be. And it can really confuse you because it causes you to feel desired. It causes you to feel like you're wanted. They bring out of you, actually, the sexuality early on, only to, within the relationship, ultimately confuse you by making you feel bad because you then want it. Whether you're married or in a committed relationship, they start to demean and devalue your natural desire for affection and for touch. Now, I've made videos talking about why this is. One thing we have to understand about narcissistic people right off the bat is that their desire to touch and to connect and to have a sexual encounter with you in the beginning stages of a relationship has nothing to do with their desire for true connection. It has everything to do with crossing your boundaries, with being forceful, with trying to get something that would otherwise be unobtainable. In other words, they're turned on by the sheer action of trying to get you to do what they want. That's what excites them. That's what makes their juices flow. It's not even about true connection with you. Now, this becomes devastating once you're in the committed relationship and now you're the one that wants that connection and that desire, but you're made to feel ashamed of it. Now, before we talk about how narcissistic people have confused and distorted your sexuality, causing you to feel shame and guilt, we first have to tackle how society has done that, how church has done that. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for everything, and you don't want to go to church wearing your shortest shorts possible because, well, now that could just be a distraction from people who are there trying to understand the Word of God. You know what I'm saying? However, we have all been conditioned to believe that our sexuality and our desire for touch and for affection is something that we need to cover up. And for the longest time, you have covered that up. From head to toe, you've suppressed it, which has created this deep vulnerability within you for a narcissistic person who happens to be the most aggressive up front because of their conquering mentality to bring that out of you. So we need to step into getting to a place where we own and we accept our own true desire for passion, for sexuality, for love, for connection, for affection. We have to learn how to take steps to have this in practice. And now, I don't mean to go sleeping around with people. That's not what practicing your passion and your affection and your sexuality means. It has a lot to do with how you carry yourself, how you feel about yourself, your own internal confidence. Can you carry yourself with your passion, with your desire, without stepping into situations where you're allowing other people to use it? The more you accept your own passion, your own desire for connection, your own sexuality, the more in charge you're going to be of when, where, how, and why it's applied. Because you're walking in that confidence, you're knowing that you're desirable, and you're knowing that you desire it, yet you're able to be more judgmental on where it's applied, who's deserving, who's not, what type of committed relationship you're truly looking for, so that you're not the one at risk for being used. You're not waiting around for somebody to come into your life aggressively to pull it out of you. In other words, you want to be the leader of your own passion, your own sexuality, your own desire. You want to be the manager of it. For the longest time, I used to clothe my own passion. I used to cloak myself. I used to suppress my own desires, my own passions in this life for connection, for touch, for love, for sexuality, right? Under the impression that that needed to be saved for this particular person, this particular moment, and this particular relationship. But what do you think happens? I got involved in this relationship only to find out that my desire was inappropriate within that relationship for whatever reason. It was devastating. The one relationship that I was saving myself for ended up being a relationship where it was rejected. Who I am was rejected. But you see, I understand something, that I was walking inauthentically prior to getting in that relationship. I was inauthentically suppressing my desire of touch. I turned it off. And at this point in my life, I am happy to say that I'm unashamed, that I'm able to carry myself in the confidence. I'm able to share myself with the passion that I have. I'm able to explore verbally, mentally, and emotionally my desires, my passions. And I want the same for you. You see, this changes the whole relationship dynamic. It changes how you interact with people. When you put on display your desires, your passions in life, instead of trying to suppress them, trying to act overly modest. Again, what benefit is there in acting overly modest in all of your relationships, turning off flirtation, turning off carrying yourself confidently, turning off carrying yourself as a sexual being, if that is in fact who you really are? What benefit is there in navigating relationships and even friendships with all of this suppressed? Are you not giving off the inauthentic impression to others? Right? Now, I know some of you might be saying, yeah, but in the context of the right relationship, they'll bring it out of you. Right. But doesn't that put them in control? Doesn't that allow a narcissistic person to come into your life? Right? To bring that out of you, and now they have control over your sexuality. They have control over your passion. This is where you've been. This is what happened. And with them in control, they then decide when to turn it on and when to turn it off for you. And this is what creates starvation. This is what creates confusion. So let's talk about some of the things that you can start doing right now that will allow you to walk confidently, allow you to explore relationships like you never have before, step into your authenticity in life, and not allow somebody else to lead you through their passion, through their sexuality, which ultimately is going to be a narcissistic person who's going to use you up front for a conquest, only to deny your true passion, your true desire for connection, your true touch. Change of scenery, change of clothes. I got tired of being wet, but the message is still the same. It's about time that we stop waiting for other people, either a group, a family, or a friend, or a potential lover, to bring out of us what we should already be carrying authentically in this life. Now, I want you to pause, rewind that, play it back again. Actually, you don't have to. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it differently in hopes that you get it. We need to stop waiting for a love interest or a person or a friend to pull out of us something that we should already be walking in this life with. So, if you've got sex appeal, don't wait for somebody to bring it out of you. Carry it. If you've got confidence, don't wait for somebody to bring it out of you. Walk with it. If you like fashion, if you like style, don't wait for somebody to give you permission and bring it out of you. Walk with it. If you like to dress in a way that exposes the top part of your chest, don't wait for somebody to be okay with it. Carry it with you. Now, obviously, like I said, context is key. You don't want to go with your boobs out at church, right? I get all that. But if you're out strolling, if you're living within your comfortability, here's a great way of looking at it, my friends. However you are alone in your own home, you should have an element of that when you're outside too. You should have an element of that. So for example, if you happen to be like Tom Cruise in Risky Business, when you're home alone, you know what I mean? Wearing nothing but underwear, sliding across the floor, doing your little dance, then you need to figure out how to have an element of that with you at all times. Listen, I've been there, my friends, and I'm telling you this with 100% certainty. That happens to be an analogy I resonate with because I happen to be one of those guys. Hope this isn't too much info for you, but I would be naked all the time if it was permissible. In my alone time at home, I'm probably naked. When I'm sleeping, I'm probably naked. If I'm out in the sun, I'm probably naked. And so what good does it do in this life to present myself when I'm out and about as somebody who's always clothed up? I've done that. I've been there. And then I got married and got into this relationship where I relaxed and became more myself. And guess who it offended? And now guess what was at risk of and did fall apart because of a misunderstanding, because of two different worlds. And now let me ask you this, who's at fault? At the end of the day, can I blame somebody for their neglect and their not understanding who I am authentically because I withheld it because of conditioned beliefs and then expected that person to be okay with it? Do you see the problem? All right. And what we face when we choose not to be authentic, but instead wait for a relationship or a person to somehow grant us permission. We need to stop that. So here's some things I encourage you to start doing right away if you haven't already. Start dressing and appearing the way in which is comfortable to you in order to bring out your confidence, in order to carry with you an element of who you are wherever you go. Number 2, start talking with people, with friends, with potential love interests, the way in which brings out your own confidence, in which you're in charge. In other words, learn how to flirt. Elevate your flirt game. Flirting is super important, especially for those of you who are full of passion, for those of you who are empathic, for those of you who love connection, for those of you who have desire in this life, for those of you who love sexuality, love connection, love togetherness. What you may not realize is that flirting is primarily what sex is really all about. I mean, the actual act of sex is what? 20 minutes? 15? 10? I mean, sure, you can roll around all night and you can make a whole epic event out of it. But for the most part, it's the flirtation that builds up to where sex is just the icing on the cake. It's the cherry on top. But the cake has been baking all day, every day, because of the flirtation. You see, without flirtation, what you get is a skipping of the foreplay, a skipping of any and all flirting, and then it just becomes robotic, and then it just becomes this whatever thing, right, that you're doing. Whereas if you start to learn how to explore your flirtatious nature, you start to engage with somebody and see who can flirt back with you, well, now you are entering into a potential relationship where the sexual tension, the desire, the passion is building all the time. That is the relationship that you want intimately for those of you who are like that. It does no good to not flirt, yet hold sexual passion and this desire for closeness and togetherness. It does no good to not know how to flirt or to not start your relationships off with flirtation. And by the way, with flirting, it allows you the opportunity to turn it off when you need to, when you determine that you're wasting your time because you haven't crossed any lines. Oftentimes, we skip the flirtation process and go straight into allowing narcissistic people to drag you into the bedroom to robotically do whatever it is they want to do. While you missed out on the foreplay, you missed out on the flirtation. So you see, you being able to live in a way that allows you to flirt at your own pace will ultimately expose the other person as to whether or not they will meet you at that same passionate level. So these are just two concepts, two ideas. Dress in a way that allows you to feel confident and show up authentically. Learn how to flirt and communicate and talk while you're making friends in a way that exposes who you're talking to. Flirtation is just one thing, but there's also connection. There's also touching. There's touching as in holding hands. What happens when you try to hold somebody's hand? What happens when you touch somebody's arm? When you put your arm around their shoulder? What happens when you go in for a hug? There's a lot you can tell about a potential partner in the way that they hug you back, in the way they hold your hand. Do they try to release you? When you go in for a hug, do they seem distant, like they are trying to get away? Or are they grabbing you and pulling you in, letting you know that they like the way it feels to be against you? These are things that you can start to use without crossing any lines of morality so that you can expose who somebody is. And more importantly, these are things you can do consistently to see whether or not they're just doing it one time just to hold your hand to impress you, or if they like to hold your hand all the time. You could do this for days, for weeks. With every hug, you could test to make sure every hug is the same. Or are they just trying to show initially? They're trying to pretend to like it, but then eventually they're getting a little bit more awkward. Do you see how important it is for you to walk authentically each and every day in all of your relationships? You show up authentically. Don't worry about what they're doing. And in time, you're going to see who you're going to expose, who likes and appreciates and can meet you at your authentic level, and who can't, who the posers are, who the fake ones are, who the ones are who just pretend initially, because those are the ones you want to weed out. So these are some great tips I'm giving you as far as just living authentically, because you deserve to be happy and fulfilled in this life in your relationships. You've already been through relationships where you were unfulfilled, rejected, and discarded. A lot of the discarding, a lot of the rejection came because of an inability for you to show up authentically and to test and to expose who you were getting involved with. Again, don't let them lead. That's the dangerous place. You lead by being authentically you. And test. Always be testing to make sure that it's real, to make sure that they are really there for the authentic version of you. Now, I know that you have a lot of questions, and I'm here to answer those questions. Head on down, schedule some one-on-one time with me. I'd love the opportunity to speak with you, and I'll be back with more videos for you right here on The Royal We.